Hey, I'm Scott Grove from Imagine Grove, and today I'd like to start with lesson one of my business courses. So I like to talk about a business plan. Would you go on a road trip from, say, New York to California without having a map? Of course not. You'd have a general idea of where you're going to go, correct? Well, why would you run a business without knowing where you're going to go and how you're going to get there? A business plan is critical to all businesses, and surprisingly, most small business people and a lot of medium-sized businesses don't have a business plan in place. It is the key to running a successful business. Again, the analogy of a roadmap. I want to drive from New York to LA, and I want to have a general idea of how I'm going to go. Am I going to take the northern route, the southern route, and how long is it going to take me? What's it going to cost me to get there? Just very fundamental elements of this trip. So apply that to your business. I've kind of broken it down. Very simple to understand. Just write something down and pin it on the wall, and it'll give you a basic roadmap of what you want to go. It will ask yourself questions on how am I going to get there? What's it going to cost? What do you want to do? What is a business plan? And why do you need it? You need it to give yourself direction. Banks will require a business plan for if you ever have to borrow large sums of money. So I have a business plan broken down into a number of categories. It's basically why. Why do you want to do what you want to do? What's your product? Where are you going to sell this product? How are you going to make it? Let's break this down. Why do you want to do what you want to do? Do you just like making things with your hands? Okay. Do you like designing things versus making things? And there's a big difference there in woodworkers. Some are designers and some are makers, and some are both. And you really want to think that through. Are you a businessman? Unfortunately, in a lot of trade schools, they don't teach business, which is a real shame. And that's why I'm doing a lot of these courses here, because there are a lot of very talented people out there, but they don't know how to run a business. And hopefully I've got 35 years of running a successful furniture business, and hopefully I can share some of these tips with you. Maybe you want to make things because you're just a hobbyist. You got a great job, or you're retired and you want to make some things on the side and sell them, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe just use it for therapy or to get away from the spouse. Whatever reason it is, just write that down and be honest with yourself. Oh, I want to make $1 million. Well, I want to tell you right now, it is not easy being a craftsman. If you want to be rich, find another career and do this as a hobby. The first thing I say in all my business courses is, if you're in it for the money, that's not the reason you should be in woodworking or being a craftsman. Do this because we truly love our trade. So when running a business, the bottom line here is making money. I mean, that is the bottom line, Unless you're a hobbyist or you're just doing it for therapy and you don't really care, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I've done a lot of shows where it's clear the guy next to me is retired. He doesn't care if he makes 50 cents an hour, and he undersells everybody and everybody hates him. And power to him, there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to figure out how to get around those situations. If you're in it for the business, you need to think about the bottom line. The next thing is, what's your product? What are you going to make? Is it a product or is it a service? Meaning, do you make breadboards or do you want to refinish furniture? Refinish furniture is a service, right? Simple difference. If you're making something, are they one-of-a-kind pieces, right? Are they custom, meaning you make them for someone to their specifications? Are they limited editions, which is a good way to go, where you spend 100 hours figuring out how to make the first one, and that costs you a fortune. Once you've got that down, then you make 10 or 20 or 100 or whatever that might be. That's called limited edition. Production, you might design it, figure it out, and send it off to be outsourced and go into full production, or you could do full production yourself. Is it speculative, meaning you just make something crazy, and if someone wants to buy it, great. If they don't, oh well, you starve or find another job. So you also want to think about your specialization. Are you going to specialize in this particular product? Am I just making breadboards? Am I making kitchen accessories? Am I making furniture? Or am I going to make anything that anybody wants me to make? Right? You're jack of all trades, master of none. So think about what you want to do and be careful there, because sometimes you do what you do, which means if you just start making breadboards, and you might get a reputation for breadboards, and suddenly everybody knows you for breadboards, and that could be good or bad. Because in the beginning, yes, I want to make one-of-a-kind, high-end, $100,000 pieces, right? Well, that's not going to happen overnight, so I've got to make my breadboard, right, to make just to pay the bills, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a day job, and then an evening I'm working on the larger speculative pieces. But suddenly I got a reputation. Oh, this guy makes $20 breadboards, and I'm suddenly keyholed into that. So be careful on your reputation and what you do. I, in the early days, would do anything. And I would sometimes say, look, I don't do plastic laminate counters. I'll do it for you, as a favor, yada, yada, yada. Just don't tell anybody I made this plastic laminate counter. I'm happy to do it for you, but I'm not signing my name to it. And I've done that, and that works just fine. So just be careful on what your reputation is, because you're starting to build a business, and you're starting to build a brand. And we'll talk about that later in future episodes. Okay, so now you know what you're going to make. Are you selling them to the regular consumer, meaning retail, and you want to deal directly with the customer? Or are you going to sell them to a store, meaning you're going to wholesale them, and they're going to do the selling, right? And the price point, and we'll talk about that, the price structure is completely different, wholesale versus retail. It's a whole episode there. If you're selling directly to a customer, how's your salesmanship skills? That's a whole nother ball of wax, and we'll be talking about the psychology of sales and how to close a deal. But if you're not good at it, you may want to consider hiring someone to do that for you, or learn like I did. Now you know what your market is. You also want to consider your price point. Are you selling high ticket items, higher end, higher demographic? Lower ticket items. Are you going for volume, or are you going for one-time quality pieces? You got to think about that. That has to do with your price point, and that usually will then help sort out the demographic. Are you going to sell it out of your house? Are you going to sell it in a store? Are you going to sell it at shows? Are you going to sell it in galleries? Interior designers, which are great sources for sales. Galleries, museum shows, mud shows. You just want to know where you're going to be selling it. Are you going to be selling on an online marketplace? For example, Etsy. A great place to sell items, and it takes a lot of the hassle out of dealing with the client. Getting back to the roadmap. So your business plan is not carved in stone. Meaning, if I'm driving across the country and I want to get to LA in, say, 10 days, okay, I got some flexibility there. And I got a budget of $2,000. Great. Plenty of money, plenty of gas, plenty of food, hotels, and along the way, I can deviate. If I want to go down to New Orleans, I can do that, and I can change my business plan. So just like a trip, you're free to make changes along the way, but it's a starting point. It's a map, and it will tell you how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, and generally the direction you're going to go. So now, how are you going to make it? Are you making it yourself? Believe it or not, there are a lot of woodworkers out there who don't make it themselves. They outsource or have employees, for example. One-man shop, two-man shop, you're pretty much making everything by yourself. But as you've grown, and I grew, I had 25 employees at one point, you're not making it anymore. You're running a business, and that's part of your business plan. Do you see yourself making everything by yourself? Or, I want 10 employees in 5 years. Okay, that's a goal to shoot for. And you want to run the numbers on that. So, operations, how are you going to make it? One major problem that I see with a lot of craftsmen is they love what they do. And that's great. But you're running a business. You need to make money. One statement I use, and people have a hard time with this, is that there's nothing better than good enough. Meaning it has to be good enough for the client, not you, because we will sand our brains out until, the end of times. I'm not saying deliver shoddy work. I had an employee that I swear had stock in sandpaper. He would start at 80 or 120 and go through 150, 180, 220, 320. He would sand every grit known to man. He would sand every surface upside and down. And I disagree with that. I worked for me and he was pushing back. So we actually did a sample where I sanded a board 120, 180. He sanded it through his whole schedule. We sent it to finishing, came back, and you couldn't tell the difference. Also, maybe on the bottom side of a drawer, does that need to be sanded as well as the top of the face of the cabinet? Probably not. So you want to think about what is going to make you money, okay? Don't overwork a piece. It sounds crazy, but that's where a lot of people lose their shirts, is they just keep putting their heart and soul into it, and they never know where to stop. We'll talk about estimating and how to do that in future episodes, but that is the number one problem where I see people overwork. If the client's happy, even if we all know where all the flaws are and it could be changed and this and that, and if you're trying to make money here, you got to let go of that. If the client's happy, that's your number one goal. Make them happy. They're happy. I'm happy. Check clears. We're all happy. So you're running a business. You've got to make money. That's a really important thing. So are you going to bring in a partnership? I've had a number of partners, and that's like a marriage. That's a whole other ball of wax. And we'll talk about partnerships and agreements and buy-sell agreements and how to get in and out of partnerships. Most partnerships eventually fail, so kind of like marriages, if you will. So you want to be ready for that and have that in place so it can be an amicable dissolution when that time comes and you each want to go in a separate direction. There's a lot of hows here. How are you going to make money? Pricing your work is critical. Knowing what your costs are, knowing what your overhead is, and what your profit margin is. That's very important to make sure you don't cut yourself short. Knowing what your competitors are selling products for. That's key. If I'm making the best breadboards known to man, but there's a guy next to me who has a similar product and is cutting me in half, that could be a problem, unless you market yourself as the best breadboard maker in the world. And that has to do with branding, and we'll talk about that. A lot of people definitely underestimate their overhead. A lot of mistakes I see made. So pricing is very critical. Coming down to the value of your work. Well, everybody thinks their work is worth more than it really is. And when you get to a collector level, you can start adding value onto that. But in the beginning, it's just time and material. What's your time worth and what's your material worth, and your overhead factored in, and there you go. And I will do a whole episode on pricing your work. So that's a very simple version of a marketing plan. So please just take a piece of paper and write that down to review. Why? That's basically what's called a mission statement. Why are you doing what you want to do? What? What is your product or products or niche? Who is your market? Who are you selling to? Where are you going to sell it? How are you going to make it? Those are the basic fundamental elements, the way I see it, for a business plan. So please write a business plan down, review these, pin it on the wall. You're going on a wonderful journey. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to run out of gas. You're going to possibly get into an accident. You're going to deviate. You're going to turn around. You'll probably get lost. Your GPS will fail. And this roadmap will help you stay on track. Just think of it as driving across the country. And I hope that gives you a little insight on a business plan 101. I will be covering a lot of these topics in depth in future episodes. If there's something in particular you'd like to know about, I have a long list of business and marketing advice, but I'm happy to bump them up. If you have questions, please email me. Go to imaginegrove.com and ask me a question. I'll be happy to answer that or answer those questions on all these topics. So remember to find the line and then cross it.